This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Monday, November 24th, 2025. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
Talks to end the war in Ukraine continued in Geneva over the weekend as lawmakers continue to react here at home. I'm John Stolnis in Washington.
Reaction on Capitol Hill to the resignation of Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene.
I just disagreed with her philosophy.
I'm Clayton Neville.
Abortion is again illegal in North Dakota.
I'm Jennifer King.
New York's mayor-elect talks about his meeting with President Trump. Correspondent Julie Walker has that. Weekend teenage violence in Chicago. And Gethin Coolball reports on the latest accusation of an athlete betting on sports games. This one against his own team.
I'm Jessica Ettinger, CNBC. Wall Street opens this morning after a losing week for stocks, but a rally for the markets last Friday.
All ahead on America in the Morning. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and other Trump administration officials met with Ukrainian negotiators in Geneva over the weekend as talks continue to possibly end the Ukraine war. But in the U.S., lawmakers continue to react to a plan many say heavily favors Russia. John Stolnis has the story from Washington.
Speaking to reporters following a day of talks, Rubio says things are going well.
I can tell you, that I feel very optimistic that we can get something done here because we made a tremendous amount of progress today.
At a conference in Halifax, Canada, some U.S. senators say they had private conversations with Rubio over the weekend in which the Secretary of State told them the 28-point plan released on Friday was not the White House's peace deal, but a wish list from Russia. The State Department denies Rubio told lawmakers this, and Rubio himself said nothing has been finalized.
No matter what we came up with today, obviously we now have to take what we come up with if we can reach that agreement with the Ukrainian side to the Russian side. That's another part of this equation.
The deal we know of right now would see Ukraine give up portions of land they still control, but land Russian President Vladimir Putin has unsuccessfully tried to take on the battlefield. It also does not require Ukraine's allies to intervene militarily should Russia decide to attack them again sometime in the future. Republican Congressman Mike McCall tells ABC's This Week the deal reminds him of the 1994 Budapest Agreement Ukraine signed.
Ukraine gave up all its nuclear weapons in exchange for what? For nothing. And then Russia invaded. There was no security agreement. I would not advise Ukraine to sign this.
The top Democrat on the Senate Intelligence Committee, Mark Warner, tells ABC News.
It's awful. It would make Neville Chamberlain's giving in to Hitler, the outset of World War II, look strong in comparison.
However, Republican Senator Eric Schmidt on Fox News says President Trump is playing the hand he's been dealt.
The truth of the matter is, and a lot of people won't say it, is the Ukrainians have been losing for a long time.
Trump set a Wednesday deadline for Ukraine to respond to the plan, but said to reporters that timeline could slide.
Is this your final offer to Ukraine?
No, we'd like to get the peace. It should have happened a long time ago.
John Stolnis, Washington.
Washington abuzz with news that Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene has decided to resign from Congress January 5th of next year. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene was elected to Congress in her Georgia district in 2020. She's been one of President Trump's strongest advocates until recently. In a statement about her decision to resign, the Congresswoman said that Congress has been mostly sidelined since President Trump took office for a second term. She's also been outspoken on behalf of the victims of disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein in the push to release the Epstein files.
And they are victims of something that's unthinkable. And this should have never, ever happened.
Greene said that Trump considered her a traitor for fighting for Epstein's victims.
This was a fight that we should have never had to wage. It should have been the easiest thing for every single member of Congress. It should have been the easiest thing for the Speaker of the House. It should have been the easiest thing for the President of the United States to release all the information, every single file, on behalf of these American women.
President Trump has been critical of Greene's working with Congressman Thomas Massie, who called for the release of Epstein's files. The president was asked if he forgives Greene.
Forgive for what? No, I just disagreed with her philosophy. She started backing perhaps the worst Republican congressman
in our history.
Meanwhile, a Democratic Congresswoman who Greene has sparred with on Capitol Hill, Jasmine Crockett, was asked by CNN's State of the Union about her reaction to Greene's announcement.
I was like, you've got to be kidding me. You're on the other side of the president for 1 week and you can't take the heat. Imagine what it is to sit in my shoes, to not only be on the opposite side of him, but to have people like her who are constantly fanning the flames of hate.
Congresswoman Greene said in her lengthy statement that she doesn't want her district to endure a hurtful and hateful primary against her by President Trump. I'm Clayton Neville.
The top stories of the day are sponsored by Sleep Number. It's the Sleep Number Black Friday sale. Recharge this season with cozy, soothing comfort. Save on mattress and base bundles, plus free premium delivery, limited time, only at Sleep Number or sleepnumber.com. Trump-Mamdani meeting, when America in the Morning continues after these messages. The national forecast on America in the Morning with AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
A storm moving out of the southwest into the southern plains caused a few heavier storms on Sunday, but as the system continues eastward today, there will be a greater risk for gusty thunderstorms to develop ahead of it. This will cover a large part of northeast Texas into southeast Oklahoma, much of Arkansas, northwestern Louisiana during the day, then continue into northwest Mississippi tonight. These storms will be capable of producing hail, flash flooding, damaging winds, and even an isolated tornado. To the north of the storm, there'll be some rain or showers widespread through Kansas into Missouri, northward to Nebraska, Iowa, South Dakota, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. And this rain will continue to expand into Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, and Michigan tonight. Another storm moving into Montana will produce a few showers ahead of it in eastern Montana into North Dakota, but will also start developing snow behind it as it continues to move eastward, strengthening along the way. Rain will change to snow through eastern Montana into North Dakota and South Dakota tonight, with several inches possible by Tuesday morning. We have high pressure in the east, providing a good deal of sunshine for many areas from Florida northward to Georgia into the Carolinas, Middle Atlantic, and Northeast. Highs will range from the 70s and 80s in the south to the 30s in northern New York and New England, which is near or even a little bit above average for late November. Outside of the snow developing in Montana, there will be a few showers along the coast in the northwest from Washington to northern Oregon. That's the weather across America. Las Vegas, Nevada will have plenty of sunshine today and a high of 65. Great Falls, Montana will start with some rain, but then mix with some snow this afternoon. High 42 early and then falling temperatures in the afternoon. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Remember to follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. New York's Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani is standing by his criticism of President Trump, despite that friendly Friday White House meeting that some in the media characterized as a bromance. Correspondent Julie Walker reports.
We have a communist coming to the White House because that's who the Democrat Party elected as the mayor of the largest city in the country. I think it's very telling, but I also think it speaks to the fact that President Trump is willing to meet with anyone.
New York's next mayor, Zohran Mamdani, stood in the Oval Office Friday next to a sitting President Trump, beaming up at him at times, the two exchanging pleasantries. Then over the weekend, the Democratic Socialist was asked if he still believes Trump is a fascist and threat to democracy.
Mr. Mayor-elect, just to be very clear, do you think that President Trump is a fascist?
And after President Trump said that, I said yes. And
so you do?
And that's something that I've said in the past. I say it today. And I think what I appreciated about the conversation that I had with the president was that we were not shy about the places of disagreement about the politics that has brought us to this moment. And we also wanted to focus on what it could look like to deliver on a shared analysis of an affordability crisis for New Yorkers.
The two have fiercely criticized each other, with Trump calling Mamdani a communist lunatic.
We don't shy away from where we have disagreements, but we understand what it is that brings us to that table. Because I'm not coming into the Oval Office to make a point or make a stand. I'm coming in there to deliver for New Yorkers.
The incoming mayor made his comments on NBC's Meet the Press. Though far apart politically, the White House meeting offered potential political benefits for both. Mamdani was able to meet one-on-one with the president. Trump got to talk about affordability, an issue increasingly important to voters. Julie Walker, New York.
President Trump renewed calls for federal intervention to stem crime in Chicago after weekend shootings left a 14-year-old dead and 8 other teens wounded. In the shooting Friday night, 7 teenagers between the ages of 13 and 17 were hit by gunfire. In a posting on Truth Social, the president described what he called rioting in downtown Chicago and argued Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker and Mayor Brandon Johnson were refusing federal government help for what he's described as a situation that could be quickly remedied. Chicago police added 700 officers to an area they knew teens would be gathering, but admit the precautions were not enough. When we return on America in the Morning, Bitcoin losses mount and consumer sentiment at an all-time low. After these messages. America in the Morning continues with the Monday Business Report, sponsored by Gusto. Gusto's a simple online payroll and benefits tool built for small businesses. Learn more at gusto.com/radio. Here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger.
Wall Street opens this morning after a losing week for stocks, but after the 5-ish% pullback in the S&P 500 index over the past few weeks, Friday was a winner.
The market was taking out some froth that maybe should have never been there in the first place. Along the way, it did also take money out of cyclicals that if the Fed is a bit more lenient, if there's any weakening, actually could set up for a really nice 2026.
That's Vantage Rock's Avery Sheffield on CNBC, and she mentions the Fed. Investors liked that the New York Fed president spoke out. John Williams said there's room for an interest rate cut at the Fed's next meeting in December. Dip buyers jumped into the stronger names on Friday, especially healthcare companies pushing drug maker Eli Lilly to become the first $1 trillion healthcare firm in U.S. history. It makes the diabetes and weight loss blockbusters Mounjaro and Zepbound. Bitcoin, though, on Friday touched 80,000, losing about a third of its value just this month.
More than $2 billion in leveraged crypto bets were wiped out in the past 24 hours, and the big institutional buyers, at least so far, have not been stepping in. And this isn't just a knock-on effect from macro headwinds and concerns that we won't get a Fed rate cut next month. The sell-off actually traces back to a flash crash in early October on U.S.-China trade tensions.
CNBC's Mackenzie Sagalos. American consumers still feeling pretty rotten in the new University of Michigan data, with consumer sentiment near all-time lows as inflation has risen since April.
Not necessarily good news here. These are University of Michigan November final reads, and close to the all-time low, which was 50, and this comes in at 51.0, so still quite weak in the grand scheme of history. Now, if we look at current, that moved down from 52.3 to 51.1, and that is a new low.
CNBC's Rick Santelli. Those who are spending or liking Gap. The brand is back. It reported better than expected quarterly results, and not counting the pandemic, same-store sales growth was the fastest in 8 years. Thanksgiving week is here, including the busy travel period, with severe weather possibly impacting Americans tonight into Wednesday. The markets will be closed on Thursday, but they're open for a half day of trading on Black Friday. On today's watch list, earnings are coming from Agilent and Zoom. The Saks Fifth Avenue, New York City flagship store unveils its annual holiday windows today. And today is the 5th anniversary of the Dow, topping 30,000 for the very first time. Here we are 5 years later, and the Dow will open this morning above 46,000.
CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. When we return on America in the Morning, North Dakota's abortion ban deemed constitutional. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. A judge has deemed the North Dakota abortion ban as constitutional in a split decision from that state's Supreme Court. Correspondent Jennifer King reports.
Abortion is again illegal in North Dakota. At the state Supreme Court, 3 out of 5 justices agreed that the ban that had been struck down by a lower court was too vague, but the state requires a 4 out of 5 majority for a law to be found unconstitutional. The 2023 law, signed by then-Governor Doug Burgum, makes performing an abortion a felony, with exceptions for rape or incest in only the first 6 weeks, or to prevent a serious health risk or death of the mother, and psychological conditions do not count. The plaintiffs had argued that the law endangered the lives of pregnant women and denied doctors due process for not specifying when an abortion may be performed for health reasons. The sole clinic where abortions were available moved from Fargo to Moorhead, Minnesota in 2022, and since then the procedure has only been available in hospitals when a mother's health is threatened. North Dakota joins 12 other states that ban abortion at all stages of pregnancy. I'm Jennifer King.
More trouble for sports and gambling as the NCAA says a former men's college hoops player repeatedly bet against his own team. Correspondent Gethin Coolball reports.
The NCAA says former Temple guard Hasir Miller placed dozens of bets on Owls games, including some against his team. The NCAA deemed Miller permanently ineligible after finding he placed 42 parlay bets totaling $473 on Temple games between 2022 and 24. The NCAA says 3 of those bets were against his own team. Former Temple special assistant coach Cameron Winter and former graduate assistant Jalen Bond were found to have violated NCAA rules by betting on pro and college sports. I'm Gethin Coolball.
America in the Morning from Monday, November 24th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
The social media battle over what the military may be ordered to do boils over. I'm Rich Johnson.
The 2-day G20 summit wrapped up Sunday in South Africa. I'm Donna Warder.
A woman convicted in the so-called Slender Man stabbing of 2014 goes missing. I'm Clayton Neville.
A massive cargo ship fire in Los Angeles. A Democrat and Republican governor at odds with Trump over oil drilling. Prison guards learn their fate. And Robert Workman is in with sports.
Lawsuit alleges that social media companies know they're addictive. I'm tech correspondent Chuck Palm.
Things got quite wicked at the box office this weekend. I'm Kevin Carr.
Back after these messages. America in the Morning continues with the nation's outlook. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
A storm moving into Montana will produce a few showers ahead of it in eastern Montana and in North Dakota, but it will also start developing snow behind it as it continues to move eastward, strengthening along the way. Rain will change to snow in eastern Montana and in North Dakota and South Dakota tonight, with several inches of snow possible by Tuesday morning. Additional moderate to heavy snow will fall on Tuesday through northern South Dakota into the rest of North Dakota and northern Minnesota. Some places will see more than 6 inches of snow with very strong winds, and travel could become very difficult. A storm moved out of the southwest into the southern plains on Sunday, and as the system continues eastward today, there will be a risk for gusty thunderstorms to develop ahead of it. This will cover a large part of northeast Texas into southeast Oklahoma, much of Arkansas, as well as northwestern Louisiana during the day, and then continue into northwest Mississippi tonight. These storms will be capable of producing hail, flash flooding, damaging winds, and even an isolated tornado. And to the north of the storm, there'll be rain or showers widespread through Kansas and Missouri, northward to Nebraska, Iowa, South Dakota, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. And this rain will expand eastward into the Tennessee Valley, into Ohio and southern Michigan tonight. Outside of the snow developing in Montana, there'll be a few showers along the coast in the northwest in Washington and northern Oregon, but the rest of the west will be largely dry with sunshine. We'll have highs mostly in the 40s and 50s in the north and warm to the 60s and 70s in the south. And high pressure on the east coast will provide a good deal of sunshine for many areas from Florida northward to Georgia into the Carolinas, middle Atlantic, and northeast. Highs will range from the 70s and 80s in the south to the 30s in the north. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. The outrage and pushback are still strong regarding several lawmakers urging service members to refuse illegal orders, and President Trump calling that action seditious and punishable by death. Correspondent Rich Johnson reports on reaction from both sides of the political aisle.
It started last week with 6 congressional Democrats, all military veterans or former intelligence officers, saying this to America's men and women in uniform.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
The key word in that social media video, illegal orders, which is part of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, the collection of laws that govern all actions by those in uniform. President Trump's first reaction, labeling the 6 Democrats traitors who are guilty of sedition, which is punishable by death.
The president took issue with one sentence in a video and was calling for our death. I think that's inappropriate, whether you're a Democrat, Republican, or an independent.
Michigan Senator Alyssa Slotkin, one of the Democrats in the video, told ABC's This Week she believes Trump is trying to distract people from the biggest stories of last week, the Epstein files and the economy. Arizona Senator Mark Kelly, also on the video, also took to social media to talk about the blowback.
Never once did I expect that at some point the President of the United States was going to threaten me with being hanged.
Montana Republican Congressman Ryan Zinke, while blasting the Democrats' video, would like to dial down the rhetoric.
We need as Americans to stop. We need to get the anger out of the equation. Anger provides a distraction, but doesn't make solutions.
Zinke's comment courtesy of CNN. But other Republicans, like Florida Congressman Byron Donalds, is not dialing it down.
What they are doing is trying to throw literally a grenade into the room. It goes off, and then they're going to claim outrage? They have no moral standing to claim outrage.
And several other Republican lawmakers.
I'm Congressman Jim Baird.
I am Joe Wilson.
Representative Nick LaLota.
Also veterans decided to fight video with video.
Any service member who refuses a lawful order is subject to court-martial for violating the Uniform Code of Military Justice.
We point out that the Republicans said lawful order, while the Democrats emphasized the importance of refusing unlawful orders. But they did not cite any specific order from the president they believe is unlawful. I'm Rich Johnson.
A number of world leaders meet in South Africa for the Group of 20 Summit, an event that President Trump and the U.S. boycotted over the president's concerns of the current South African government. Correspondent Donna Warder reports.
Russia's ongoing unjustified war in Ukraine. The shockwaves of that invasion are still reverberating through global markets today. It has hit growth, driven up food and energy prices, and deepened persistent imbalances and instability across the world.
The 2-day G20 summit wrapped up Sunday in South Africa.
I now say that this gavel of this G20 summit formally closes this summit and now moves on to the next president of the G20, which is the United States.
But there was no U.S. representative for South African President Cyril Ramaphosa to hand the gavel to. The U.S. boycotted the summit over President Donald Trump's claims that South Africa is violently persecuting its Afrikaner white minority.
I'm not going to South Africa for the G20 because I think their policies on the extermination of people are unacceptable. So I'm not going, so I won't refer to anything having to do with South Africa. South Africa has behaved extremely badly.
The U.S. also was opposed to the leaders' declaration on the first day of the talks that focused largely on climate change and global wealth inequality.
Let us move forward together, demonstrating to the world that we do have the capacity to confront and overcome the world's challenges.
Other G20 nations, except Argentina, backed the declaration. I'm Donna Warder.
There were serious threats of air quality after fire aboard a container ship off the waters of Los Angeles prompted concerns over hazardous materials in the air. Details from correspondent Julie Walker.
A massive container ship at the port of Los Angeles caught fire Friday, prompting a shelter in place for nearby residents after officials with the Coast Guard and the LA Fire Department said hazardous materials were on that ship.
And we are starting to move some of our firefighters back. Any of the firefighters who are in the smoky conditions need to be on self-contained breathing apparatus. We have a total of 4 terminals have been shut down.
Fire Captain Adam Van Gerpen.
We know that there was lithium-ion batteries there. We know that there was other hazardous waste, but we don't know specifically which ones burned.
Officials say it was an electrical fire which caused an explosion. Van Gerpen says the smell was noxious.
You almost have that metallic taste in your mouth, and it has a very distinct odor to it, like a chemical type smell in the air. So that's why we also told people if you can smell this chemical smell or have, then you need to move to fresh air.
If you can smell it, you want to stay indoors, turn off your air conditioning units so that put your car on recirculating. So it's a shelter in place, meaning that you don't want to have that air coming in.
It took more than 100 firefighters working overnight to get the blaze under control. The ship moved out to sea where fireboats continued to douse the flames. I'm Julie Walker.
When we return on America in the Morning, social media effects on children, a new lawsuit, after these messages. A Democrat and Republican governor are joining forces to blast the Trump administration's plan to allow oil drilling in the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, along with other members of the Florida GOP, blasted the plan that would open up new oil drilling sites in both Atlantic and Gulf waters. Concerns over potential impacts to beach tourism from Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, along with other members of the Florida GOP, blasting the plan that would open up new oil drilling sites in both the Atlantic and Gulf waters. This after President Trump, in his first term in office, barred drilling off the Florida coast until 2032. The Deepwater Horizon disaster, which spilled massive amounts of oil into Gulf waters, caused more than 4 million trip cancellations by beachgoers to Florida in 2017. California Governor Gavin Newsom is calling the drilling plan dead on arrival and vows to fight against it. Shifting gears, 4 correctional officers will find themselves on the other side of the prison bars after they learn their fate, receiving sentences for the beating death of a New York State inmate. Lisa Dwyer reports.
4 prison guards involved in the death of an incarcerated black man whose brutal beating at an upstate New York prison last year was captured on body cam video have now been sentenced to prison terms. The 4 pled guilty 2 weeks before the start of a trial for a group of guards accused in the death of 43-year-old Robert Brooks. Brooks was pummeled while handcuffed in an exam room at the Marcy Correctional Facility. The videos caused outrage and calls for reforms. Nicholas Anzalone and Anthony Farina each received 22-year terms. Michael Masha was sentenced to 3 to 9 years in prison, while David Walters received 2 years, 4 months to 7 years. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
Chaotic scenes in Nigeria after more than 300 school children were abducted by armed bandits from a Christian school, some of the kids as young as 10 years old. Pope Leo made an appeal for the release of the students and teachers during his weekly address from the Vatican. The BBC is reporting that 50 of the students were able to free themselves and escape. Earlier this week, armed groups attacked another Nigerian school, this time an all-girls school, and in another part of the country, gunmen stormed a church, killing 2 people, including the pastor. The incidents come as Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has met with Nigeria's National Security Advisor to discuss the violence against Christians in the West African nation. Morgan Geyser, who in 2014 stabbed a friend 19 times to appease the fictional character Slender Man, was located Sunday night after she allegedly cut off her Department of Corrections monitoring bracelet and left a Wisconsin group home. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports on her escape.
Morgan Geyser was convicted of stabbing a friend 19 times to appease the fictional horror character Slender Man. She was 12 years old at the time. In March of this year, a Waukesha County Circuit Court judge ordered that Geyser be released from the Winnebago Mental Health Institute and sent to a group home after 3 psychologists testified she was ready for supervised release. She was given an ankle monitor, but police say she cut off that ankle monitor over the weekend and was seen in Madison around 8 o'clock Saturday with an adult acquaintance. Geyser and another girl were charged as adults in the 2014 stabbing, but their guilty pleas were later vacated when they were found not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect. Both women eventually were sent to psychiatric institutions. I'm Clayton Neville.
Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, and other social media sites are facing a lawsuit that claims they knew their product was hazardous to young minds and buried the evidence. Tech reporter Chuck Palm explains.
Over 1,800 plaintiffs, including schools, parents, and state attorneys general, are suing Meta, Google, TikTok, and Snapchat for allegedly engineering addictive apps that hook kids and bury reports about the risks. The spotlight's on Meta, where internal docs have claimed that they axed Project Mercury in 2020, a known study with Nielsen showing that ditching Facebook for just a week slashed the user's depression, anxiety, loneliness, and toxic social comparisons. Meta has allegedly shut it down, blaming a flawed methodology tainted by media hype, while privately admitting that the casual links were real. One staffer likened it to big tobacco, knowing that cigarettes are deadly, but still keeping it under wraps. For more, follow me on X at Chuck Palm.
America in the Morning's Robert Workman has Monday sports.
NFL Week 12 Sunday, the Patriots won their 9th game in a row, getting by the Bengals 26-20. Coach Mike Vrabel.
We settled down, and again, it wasn't perfect by any means, but it was, I would say, just enough.
New England becomes the first NFL team to reach 10 victories this year. There were 2 matchups of division leaders. The Rams routed the Buccaneers 34-7 Sunday night. Matthew Stafford had 3 touchdown tosses, while the Bears turned back the Steelers 31-28 for their 4th win in a row. 3 TD passes for Caleb Williams. Ravens beat the Jets for their 5th straight win to take over first place in the AFC North. Cowboys trailed the Eagles 21-0 just before halftime, but came back for a 24-21 win on a last-second field goal. The Lions rallied past the Giants in overtime, scoring the game's last 17 points. Jahmyr Gibbs scored 3 times, including a 69-yard scamper in OT. Coach Dan Campbell.
Man, when he found a crease, he was going to the house. This was not about first downs and picking up a few yards or explode. I mean, this guy's going to the house, and he's got the juice to make it happen.
New York becomes the first team mathematically eliminated from this year's playoffs. Chiefs came back to clip the Colts in overtime. Harrison Butker with 5 field goals, including the tying and winning kicks. And the Jaguars edged the Cardinals in OT. Falcons slashed the Saints to end a 5-game slide. Browns beat the Raiders. Shedeur Sanders wins his first NFL start. Myles Garrett with 3 of Cleveland's 10 sacks. Wins for the Packers and Seahawks. NBA, the league-leading Thunder won their 9th in a row, dousing the Blazers 122-95 to avenge their only loss of the season and improve to 17-1. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with 37 points. NHL, make it 9 straight wins for the league-leading Avalanche. They blanked the Blackhawks 1-0. Scott Wedgwood stopped 22 shots. Cale Makar had the game's only goal.
Just continue building this and being positive and learning from our mistakes, but just continue getting better.
Colorado is 7 points ahead of everybody else in the field. That's Monday Sports.
When we return on America in the Morning, making the rounds on social media, cat through the windshield. The 911 response after these messages. The biggest ever musical adaptation shattered records in theaters over the weekend. Entertainment reporter Kevin Carr has a recap of what was a wicked weekend at the box office.
Audiences were enchanted at the box office this weekend.
I'm obsessulated.
Wicked for Good was a tornado in theaters, scoring a $150 million opening weekend.
I'm off to see the wizard.
This tops the first film by almost $40 million, and now it is the highest opening for a Broadway adaptation ever, and the second highest opening of the year after a Minecraft movie.
Who wants to see a magic trick?
In a distant second was Now You See Me, Now You Don't, with $9.1 million. This Magic threequel is also playing well overseas, conjuring $146 million worldwide so far and setting the stage for a fourth film.
Welcome to the most dangerous planet in the universe.
In third place was Predator Badlands with $6.3 million. Even as the highest grossing film in the series and a worldwide haul of $160 million, this will struggle to break even in theaters.
Welcome to the Running Man. Hunt!
Edgar Wright's remake of Stephen King's The Running Man continues to stumble, dropping 65% from last week to $5.8 million, tripping into fourth place.
What I'm offering here is a chance to play roles with real meaning.
What do you need me for?
We need a token white guy.
Finally, squeaking into fifth place was Brendan Fraser's well-received award season hopeful Rental Family with $3.3 million. I'm Kevin Carr.
Talk to any 911 operator and they'll tell you they receive not only calls about life-threatening incidents, but also ones that are both unusual and sometimes unexplainable. Correspondent Jennifer King reports on one such situation, this one from a woman driving on a North Carolina highway when a cat suddenly blasted through her windshield.
A motorist in North Carolina had a close call along Route 74 near Bryson City. Authorities in Swain County shared the 911 call.
Okay, you may not believe me, but I just had a bald eagle drop a cat through my windshield. It absolutely shattered my windshield.
The dispatcher responded calmly, sending her to a location where she could meet with highway patrol officers and make a report.
I do believe you, honestly. Okay, I had a witness. He's like, that is the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Scavenging is common behavior for bald eagles, and Kendrick Weeks with the North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission says the cat could have been roadkill.
Another question, is the cat still alive? No, it is not.
Eagles sometimes lose their grip on what they've caught, especially if they're being harassed by another raptor or the prey becomes too heavy. It's not clear if the unfortunate cat slipped from the eagle's talons or was dropped on purpose. I'm Jennifer King.
America in the Morning for Monday, November 24th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.